So still on parenting teenagers, and today we want to look at how you as a parent can support your child create healthy boundaries. So your teenager is going through a very critical transition. They're no longer children, but they're not yet adults. So they're in between, yeah? And this phase has got a lot of things happening to them. A lot of changes, a lot of growth, yeah? Expectations are evolving. Their relationships with people are changing. They're going through emotional, physical. Everything is just happening all at once, and it can be very challenging for a teenager, particularly when they're trying to set boundaries. Take, for example, your teenager is a fairly, obedient or good, agreeable teenager. Is not trouble mostly, but they're starting to feel jealousy for the first time. Their classmate, who has been their long-term friend, is now becoming an enemy. The reason being, the girl in their class that your teenager is beginning to feel feelings of attraction for is paying more attention to him than to your teenager. So they're beginning to experience jealousy for the first time. Now remember, your teenager, their frontal cortex has not yet developed, prefrontal cortex, where reasoning happens. Yeah, where executive function, decision making, planning, it's not yet well developed. But their limbic system, where feelings, emotions, infatuation, reward, anger, all those feelings are well developed. The way they are feeling is the way you would feel in the same situation as an adult. And so these feelings are real. Although most parents tend to dismiss them. It's like a teenager is not supposed to have these feelings, but they do. They are well developed, and they need to be addressed. And so your teenager is feeling jealousy for the first time, yeah? And you realize that they're starting to behave a bit weird, and they tell you they don't want to talk about it. For instance, you as a parent hear about it from another parent or from a student, and you want to confirm it with your teenager, and your teenager says, I don't want to talk to you about it. That is your teenager telling you that that is a boundary that I want you to respect. Maybe it's for that particular moment, or maybe it's, from that particular moment. So as a parent, the way you treat your teenager trying to set that boundary is very critical, because then you give them confidence to know that they can set boundaries and someone can respect them. But if you as a parent, and I think that happens mostly when parents themselves have some good, healthy boundary habits, but when you as a parent struggle with healthy boundaries, then you would persist and pry on them and nag them until they tell you what you need to know. And that becomes an invasion of privacy. You're not supporting them. What you're telling them is that you don't need to have boundaries, yeah? And that, takes away the confidence that would have built them when they go out as adults now to use. So you as a parent there becomes the reason why they grow up to become adults who cannot set healthy boundaries, because you never respected them when they were trying to create them in your house. So just that particular example, and I know there are many that teenagers can come up with in the house, try to identify them and try to give your teenager that space, that voice to be heard. Let them start making decisions and be the first person to actually want to rally behind them and support these small decisions that they're making on their own. These small wins are the ones that are going to build them up, into adults that have healthy relationships. So when it comes to boundaries, which I think is really, really important, the parent is the first person, is the first supporter of how the teenager is going to be forming these boundaries going forward when they go to campus and they start living with a roommate, or when they go out to college, or when they go out to start working with other colleagues. What they've learned in this critical phase of transition is mostly what they're going to use once they get out there. So as a parent, nurture your child, cultivate this habit in them, and allow them to learn and, gain the skills that are required as they go into adulthood.